Morning, afternoon, Thomas. Actually, we're doing our monthly chat about property and the Let Property campaign. So, I think I'm going to start, Thomas, actually, with something that has been brought to my attention lately. Actually, that HMRC has got something wrong. Now, does that surprise you?
Not really, no. Not for the past few months for sure.
No, yeah, we've got a few things to talk about with HMRC, but one of the things I'd just like to talk about is if you've got a property and you've been renting out and you've had a letter from HMRC in 2023 telling you that you are not allowed to have an upgraded central heating boiler put into your accounts, HMRC have got it wrong. Now, I've heard that they're going to apologise soon to all those people that they told to then go and have a look at their property tax return and come back and take it out, basically. But now HMRC are going to go back to those people and tell them it's okay to put it back in. So we're talking about most of the letters were sent for the year ended 5th of April 2022. And it was only the boiler upgrades that HMRC at the time said you couldn't have a boiler upgrade as a repair. Now, in our experience, Thomas, can you have a repair normally if it's something like that?
Yeah, so anything that's sort of a like for like replacement, so like a new boiler or like windows, anything like that that's just like for like can be put through as a repair. It's not an improvement because you're just like renewing something basically. So yeah, it's definitely something that is allowable and definitely shouldn't be classed as an improvement as HMRC were sort of classing it for.
HMRC were wrong, weren't they? Basically, I know it's like crazy, isn't it? Really, but it's one of those things. Actually, I remember probably 20 years ago now, HMRC said that if you had a window and you replaced a single glazed window with a double glazed window, you weren't allowed that as a repair. That was an improvement as well. So it's a similar thing. So HMRC should have known their own rules, really, because just because a boiler is more ecologically friendly, it's just a more modern equivalent, and you can't go and buy the old-fashioned equivalent because that's the whole point of having more efficient boilers. So I thought it was a great way to start this week, really, was to talk about that. So yeah, so HMRC getting it wrong is not uncommon, as you'll find out as we go through today. So let's start with clients then, Thomas. What client have we helped in the last couple of weeks that you'd like to talk about?
So in the past couple of weeks, so we've helped a couple who basically they'd hired an accountant to sort of do their let property campaign submission. And then from what the client told me, basically once the accountant had been hired, they basically stopped talking to them and didn't help them at all with their disclosure at all, apart from the initial first notification. So that's when they sort of came to us because they realized that they couldn't do it themselves and their accountant wasn't going to help them. So they sort of came to us. Their deadline was fairly close, but it was doable. So if obviously if we needed an extension, then we probably could have requested one from HMRC. But yeah, they came to us to sort of help them with their disclosure because they weren't sure how to deal with it. And yeah, in the end, we managed to basically help them do a disclosure where they didn't have any tax to pay at all. So
Oh
they
wow,
had a great outcome.
that's a really good outcome. Well, I bet they were happy as well, weren't they?
Yeah, they were very happy, especially after like all the stuff they had to deal with their previous accountant. So they were really pleased that they came to us and obviously that we were able to help them get that great result.
Yeah, and do we find aware if anybody's listening to this now, is that we have a lot of procedures in place to help one make sure you don't miss a deadline, but two we have lots of things that we can do to help those clients so that they know that we're still thinking about them. So we'll have Leah particularly will be on, sending the initial information that we need from them and that sort of type stuff. She will then chase them after a couple of weeks because we have our own internal deadlines as well that we like to meet. Because although we've got 3 months to do it in sometimes, we do like to make sure it's in the office within about a month, don't we? So, so we will chase people. We don't ignore people, that's for sure. So that's a really good lesson for somebody who's maybe listening to this now and they're not sure about the accountant that they've employed at the moment. That actually, we are here to help you. We do keep in touch with you. Even when we're on holiday, we will, which Thomas is next week, but even when we're on a holiday, we will make sure that somebody else will be answering those emails so that you know that there's still somebody there you can't talk to him about it, but you can talk to somebody else about it. So everybody in the office is au fait with what's going on with the Let Property campaign and our clients and that as well. So yeah, so that's a great learning curve as well, isn't it, for those people? But the fact they got a nil disclosure as well at the end, that's great for us as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and in the end as well, they weren't initially planning to, I don't think, but they also sort of said that they wanted us to do their accounts going forward as well. So I think that shows sort of the value we added to the sort of accounts work, and yeah, good to know that they sort of found our service helpful and will continue to do so going forward as well.
Brilliant, well done, excellent work then. So that's the client thing. So what about possible new clients? What have we had in the world of possible new clients in the last few weeks?
Yes, we've had quite a few possible new clients. A lot of them have been people who have been renting out property for a while. There's a few who they're sort of thinking of selling the property and have sort of realised that they need to sort of declare their income for it while sort of in the process of looking about selling it. So they realise that they should probably get in the system before doing a capital gains tax submission, and then HMRC sort of being like, wait a minute, where's all the rest of the income that you've been having from it? So yeah, I think people who are planning on selling are definitely sort of a common theme within people who've been approaching us recently.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and that is one thing that we do need to draw to people's attention, that sometimes they think, well, if I sell it, HMRC will never know. Actually, selling it will prompt HMRC to find you sooner, because when you sell it, you're going to have to submit capital gains tax for one thing, but also it'll be a land registry. So if you forget to do the capital gains tax, land registry will know and they will prompt HMRC. So bit by bit, they will catch up with you. So please don't think you just sell it to get away from all this, because that's one of the common mistakes we do have with people, isn't it?
Yeah, if anything, it's basically flagging up to them that it is a problem.
Totally, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so that's the possible new clients as well. What about, let's talk about HMRC again, and I love this bit, rejections. So what's been going on in the world of HMRC and their rejections, Thomas? I'd love to hear about this a bit more.
Could go on for a week about this. Yeah, so basically, since the turn of the year, basically, well, I'd probably say 80 to 90% of the ones that we've been submitting have been sort of coming back to us from HMRC. It's not 90% of the time, it's nothing to do with anything we've done. It's usually just a calculation. Well, often it's sort of a calculation thing where they're just asking us to clarify calculations, but there's also silly little things that they're coming back with that just aren't even really problems. One example is they're asking for the property details for one of our clients, even though we put it on the disclosure. So
okay, so they've asked for the address, but we've given them the address.
But we've already given it to them, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a husband and wife couple who we did submissions for back in March. The husband was accepted, but the wife, they rejected it because 2023 wasn't in it, even though we submitted it before they even had 2023 as an option to put in the disclosure.
Okay, so
and
it was inconsistent then as well then.
Yeah, so those two were submitted on the same date and everything, so there's no reason why one should have been accepted and the other one shouldn't have. They should both have just been accepted, but for some reason recently they've been extremely picky about things that they want to pick up on that don't really exist. So
yeah, so they're being picky about
frustrating.
things that they shouldn't be picky about, because that's actually, we've given them the information or we've dealt with it in the correct manner.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to get across to people, is that although we're getting a lot of rejections, they're not actually really serious rejections. These are actually rejections that shouldn't be happening. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a really important point for anybody. If you're watching this and you've had a HMRC rejection on your Let Property campaign recently, chances are it could be wrong. That HMRC could be wrong, not you. All right. So I really like to get that point across to people, that if they need help at that point, then please feel free to contact us at that point. Obviously, our Get a Quote Now system that's on our website will not tell you how much that's going to cost. You're going to have to ring in or email in on admin@marslands.co.uk to get that sort of a quote. But if you've got a rejection and you don't know how to deal with it, then please feel free to contact us, because we're becoming experts in rejections as well now, aren't we?
Yeah, and also with the way they do their interest, it's extremely frustrating as well, because they have their online calculator that you can use, but we're finding that they're rejecting clients for the interest figures, even though we're putting in the figures that is on their calculator. So it's almost like they have a separate system for their own reviews. So it's really strange, but it's quite frustrating to deal with
It
like
is.
things
And
like that when their system's saying one thing and the people are reviewing it saying another.
yeah, it's costly for us as well, isn't it? And our clients.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost our clients anymore. I will add that. When we give a fixed fee quote, we give a fixed fee quote to get you all the way through, as long as you paid for the full service. If you only pay the done with you service, then obviously you may have to pay for this sort of type extra work. But most of our clients pay the full service because they want the full assistance, don't they? So, you know, so. Okay, wow, that's yeah, rejections, yeah. So, have we got any frequently asked questions that people have been asking, or is there a common one that people ask all the time?
I can't think of any particular that they've been asking recently, but quite a common one is sort of to do with sort of the tax and how it's worked out, and also like with the penalties and interest. So it's quite a common thing where they're asking sort of how the penalties work and things like that. So in years where you don't have any tax due, you won't have any penalties, but sort of the years where you do, obviously you'll have sort of a percentage. HMRC show these percentages online that you can have, and they sort of vary year to year depending on how far back it is as well. So
And how big is the
yeah.
tax? They don't, you know, the more that you've evaded, shall we say, the amount of tax that you should have paid, the more that they think you should have come clean a lot earlier, don't they? You
Yeah.
know, so there is no one answer to any one client, is there, to be fair? You know, so that's why we say it's between 0 and 100%, you know, and where we take each case on its own merits. We take into account anything else as well. If there's been something with the client's health or something like that, we will take that in and point that out to HMRC as well, won't we, if it's needed?
Yeah.
You know, so there's lots of factors for how penalties are worked out. The interest, like you say, is the HMRC calculator, and that should be the same, but often isn't. And the tax is one of those things that we don't know what you are as a taxpayer, so we can't really say how much your tax bill is until we've worked out some figures. But I can often give people a bit of an idea of what their tax bill is going to be. So if they want to pay extra for a little bit of an extra quote right at the beginning of the 3-month period, we can give them a rough idea. But I often say to people, it's a lot less than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, we're very good at what we're doing here. We've been practicing on this for 10 years so far. So we've got a lot of experience on getting this right as well for you. So yeah, so just trust us to do that for you. I think it's one of the quick things I like to get across, that we will work our hardest to make sure you pay the least amount of tax possible, you know, because that is really important to you. And I think one of the questions that somebody asked me actually the other day as well, if I haven't got the money to pay the tax, shall I just wait until I've collected some money? Shall I do that? What would you say to them?
I would say with that, because HMRC usually expects the payment sort of when the submission's done. If you're not able to pay the full amount with the for the tax and the penalties and everything, they do have a I'm trying to think of the name of it now. Basically a system in place, time to pay arrangement, that's the one, where you can sort of call them, sort of discuss what's affordable for you with regards to monthly payments, and basically they'll sort of discuss your income situation with them. They'll be able to work out a reasonable amount that will cover your bill, but also like get them the money that they're requiring from you. And yeah, so they have that system in place for people who can't afford to pay like a huge sum of money in one go, but can afford to pay it over a period of time. So
Yeah.
that system's there for everyone if they need it.
Yeah, and on top of that, you do have other ways potentially of raising money. I mean, one of the ways you can maybe raise money is to remortgage one of the houses. That's one possibility. We do suggest that you don't tell them that you're doing it for tax, because mortgage companies aren't very keen on that. But that's another way of getting some money together. Another way I've heard about is that you could actually get it. There's a company that will actually allow you to get. They will pay you the next 12 months worth of the rent. So you'll be able to get a whole 12 months worth of rent in now to help pay your tax bill, and then they would just take on the collection of the rent for a year. So that's another possibility. So, but I think my key thing to people would be not to delay. I think that's a key, is don't put it off until you save the money, because you may never save the right amount of money. And by putting it off, you will pay higher penalties, and you'll be out of the system for longer. So you'll have more tax to pay in the end, because you've been out of the system for another year or two. You'll have more interest to pay because you've been out of the system for another year or two. So my recommendation to everybody is always to come clean as soon as you can. And the other thing is, HMRC Let Property campaign may not be here in a year's time, or a new government may change it. We don't know. All right. So my biggest thing to people is, yes, even if you don't think you've got enough money to pay the tax, please do it now. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add at this point, Thomas, before I read you my testimonial that we've had for you?
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay. Right. Well, I've got this lovely testimonial that says, thank you very much to everybody at Marslands. Leah was amazing. So this actually helps everybody. Leah has been amazing. Thomas and Chris has also been really helpful. They've all done a wonderful job and saved the client much more than the promised. So we promised them £7,000 and we saved them a couple of £1,000 more than that. So that's really great as well. One of their comments, it was worth paying for a more professional job. So that's good as well, because obviously they have to pay us for us to do the work. And that client as well is staying on with us as well for a few more years until they decide to sell the property. So yeah, so that's really great news, isn't it, really, Thomas? That, you know,
Yeah.
People like what we do. They think that you're all helpful, which is what, you know, that's why you're there, is to be helpful, isn't it? But it's great that we saved them money as well while we're at it. So I think that's a lovely testimonial for you and the rest of the staff. Thank you to the client that gave it to us, really. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you anybody who's listened to the end. There will be shorter periods we'll try and make this into shorter little videos as well for the actual social media and stuff like that. But yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch with us, Thomas, what's the best way? There's one best way, isn't there, of getting in touch with us?
Yeah, so the best way, the best way is sort of through our form on our website. So on the initial homepage, we've got our quoting system. So if you fill that out, you'll get your information through there, and then that will come through to us. That'll provide you with a quote, and then we'll be in touch. You can either book a meeting, or we can get in touch with you to book a meeting if it doesn't give you the initial quote. There's also our email address, so admin@marslands.co.uk. So if you have like a specific situation that's not sort of feasible to put in the initial form, then you can email us through there and give more detail. If you're a sort of more complex one, or by phoning us on 01752 344 582, and we can also discuss it there if you prefer.
We prefer to get a quote now, really, don't we, though, Thomas? So that before somebody rings up, we've got a bit of an idea of how many properties you've got, whether you've got a mortgage. So the questions are not very complicated. There's about 8 to 10 questions, isn't there? Just send an email and just a few ideas, so that we've got an idea that when we talk to you, we've got a better idea of what we're talking about. Because otherwise we're sort of like we're winging it in the dark a bit, really. And then we have to come back to you with a quote. At least our quoting system will give them a rough idea before they talk to us. And if that's too expensive for them, or they want to find out more, that's when they make a meeting with you or Chris to find out a little bit more about what's involved in, and why, what value we're adding to those clients, really. That's why we do the get a quote now first, because obviously Leah will take the call normally on the phone calls, but obviously she hasn't got enough of the information. So the only thing she'll probably do is fill out the form anyway. So, but if you're not on that property campaign, yes, please feel free to email us or telephone us. Well, thank you very much, Thomas.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.